There he is.
I just saw somebody say that they love you.
All right.
No, wait, scroll back. Who was that? Who
Was
it?
that me or you?
So no, I think that I don't know. Nobody loves me. It says
that's your love. That's your love, not mine.
Then this other one must be somebody who misses you. So that's you because I don't know who that is. What's up, man?
What's going on? Good to see you, man.
When did you get out West Coast?
Moved. So I've been here this is a month and a half now. So moved in November, middle of November.
Where are you?
In La Jolla.
Okay, so
La Jolla.
That's same relative lockdown as Los Angeles, right?
Yes, there's stay at home, there's lockdown. It seems like the folks here though are, people are over it. So I mean, you still see people out and about a little bit, but yeah.
In my experiences, La Jolla is definitely different than most parts of LA, but that whole gimmick is I don't understand what's going on there. Maybe you could explain. Like most of the time, I ask people out there, like, "What are y'all doing? Like going around licking each other? Like what is this? Like I don't know what's the, man.
I don't know. It's funny so I was in Jersey in March, April, May, and it was nuts, right? And Murphy was going nuts, right? And I'm like, all right, it can't get much worse than this. And then I get here, and I'm like, wait a minute. Newsom's like, hold on, wait a second.
No, I mean, obviously, I talked with Cosgrove here last time, and what he's been dealing with as a particular. I'm sure there's other businesses that are affected in that kind of way. It's really just very strange.
It is.
I'd like to know who has the rights to this movie, because that's what this is. It's really
the Dunkin' Donuts up the street from me where I lived in Jersey was open 24/7. Liquor store open. That Dunkin' Donuts never closed. I couldn't get on the track. Track was gated up. Can't get on. Yeah. Can't go to the park, but people could go and get Dunkin' Donuts and beer. Okay, it's not right.
No, it's so strange. And no matter what the next thing that comes up, I've always said it seems to be this constant theme that you don't know what to believe.
Yep.
There's no, and then a lot of the information is so arbitrary. So like the one that I got recently. Okay, so the vaccine. And I don't know that this to be true or not, is because you don't know what to believe. So now the vaccine doesn't do anything for contagion. It just minimizes, that you don't get sick as much or something. I'm like, what does that do? That doesn't help nobody. I would rather take the hit for 2 weeks and not have to take the vaccine because the vaccine, like we don't know. Right. I don't think anybody built buildings in the 60s thinking that asbestos was really a bad thing. Like I don't think there's anything nefarious going on, but you just don't know.
Right.
Now if the vaccine allowed normalcy to return quickly, well that's a different thing, but apparently it doesn't do that.
Right. And let's go there. If you look at the pace at which we're rolling that out as opposed to 1918, they did it way faster. It was more efficient. We can't even get it to the people who need it. And by the way, you need 2 doses. So they're saying you got to take the first one. You got to come back 10 days later or whatever. So this whole thing, I read an article in the New Yorker, really long article, really went in depth from this whole thing. And from day one, we've dropped the ball on messaging. We've dropped the ball on clarity of what works, what doesn't, mask, no mask, asymptomatic, not asymptomatic, like it's all over the place. And to this point, I think you would appreciate this is for people who are really active. And actually, I just saw Tom. I saw Tom when I was home. I went home for Christmas and we were talking about vitamin D, melatonin, getting outside, being in the sun, working out, being active, like, all right, fine. Let everything else be what it is, but let people know that these are things that they should be doing, right? Like taking walks, getting in the sun, being active, supplementing with vitamin D, especially if you're African American and you're on the East Coast and all these other things. And for no other reason, just to say, well, listen, I have a friend of mine who's a doctor. Him and his brother are doctors. They all went back to school to study infectious disease when this whole thing started. He sent one text to us in March, all of our friends. He said, act as if you either got it or you're going to get it. He hasn't texted anybody since, but he was like, these are the things that you should do. Wash your hands, this, that, or whatever. Kind of that same thing. Vitamin D, workout, whatever. Hasn't said anything since. And it's like, well, if we know this to be the case, shouldn't we just arm people so that if they do get it, the symptoms aren't as severe and they can kind of make it through it? But it's just wild how this whole thing has played out.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm glad that maybe La Jolla is not as much DEF CON as the rest of
looking today,
California.
I think since it started, we're just actually looking this up with a friend in this area, San Diego. I think there's been less than 1,000 cases since COVID started, which goes back to the economy and the economics of this whole thing. People who have more money have the privilege to social distance. Those in lower income areas do not.
Oh yeah, no, we saw that here. Now, I think it's very fair to say that part of the reason New York exploded back in the spring was because there's a significant amount of people that do not have the option to even take a week off from working, and that's just a reality. And the use of public transit, which you don't have in Southern California, was another very, very significant. It's like, how does anybody look into the camera and say that human being shouldn't do something? It's
right.
Like, so they would probably create some kind of narrative. They'll say, all right, well, I'll die if I don't work. It's
exactly right.
Man,
either I starve or I get COVID.
That's not unfair. Yeah, that's not unfair. That's not a political statement. That's just a true statement that there were people, at least I saw firsthand, that did not have the option to, or like until you're in that situation, I don't feel like I'm even comfortable even saying what I would do in that. It's they appear to not have the option to comply with what was being suggested. So it's well, that's good. Like, yeah. So you went from so what? You went from like 8.5%, 9% to 12.5%. So that's a so when you what the hell are you gonna go to California for? Like what's your angle? Like California's like this mass exodus. Like what's the
it was a couple of things that led me here. I think so. The first time I came to California was 4 years ago for my godson's christening, and I flew into LA, hung out in LA. I didn't like LA. I still don't like LA. I was like, not really feeling it. And we started to drive down the coast to San Diego where my friend lives, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like it here. And
it's different. It's different. Yeah,
it's different. And there were tracks all over the place. I was like, sold. There's sand and beaches. You can hike, you can do everything. If you love to be outside and train, I was like, wait a minute. So over the last couple of years, I've been actually, trying to work to get out here. And then I had the opportunity to take over CEO role of a company out here. So I'm the CEO now of a company called OnRamp Invest, which is it's a technology to get financial advisors access to crypto, which we'll get into later. So everything kind of lined up. And it's funny how this whole thing works out. Because like I said, in March, I was like, all right, I'm going. Like, I'm finally just picking up and going. I wanted to avoid Jersey winter again by any means necessary. So I'm like, I need to go before the winter. COVID hits. So then I have to wait. And then finally, like I said, November came along. I'm like, here, it's starting to get cold, right? And I'm like, let me go now. So yeah. I'm
all right, good.
Here
you just
I
picked
am.
up and left. That's
literally
good.
Carry on and a suitcase, got it moving.
I used to feel very similarly about LA, but because I no longer feel that way, because my experience in 2018 was, okay, I think I get it now. Because the thing, like in LA, if you have enough financial wherewithal, you're nice. But that's not easy. Because let's say, so I'd get in around 10 a.m. I get a car to the house. I probably know the day before which set of keys I should take. And I would usually take I try to stay under the $200,000 level, because part of the deal with the big guy is you break it, you buy it.
Right.
So now where we were in Westwood. Now,
Okay.
Westwood is
Nice.
yeah, but it was the first block in from Santa Monica Boulevard.
Hmm.
So if you just walk one block, the
There you go.
walk one block, it's a different neighborhood. If you walk the other way towards into Westwood, then it becomes quiet, trees, very LA-ish, on your way
Hmm.
into UCLA. So I would be very, very close to the 405 because as soon as I get it again, I take whatever, I get something to eat because we had two apartments in that complex, and then I go to the gym. I go to Gold's, and you know he wouldn't get home from practice until like sometimes 6:30. So I'm at I park at Gold's, I go and train, I walk around Venice Beach in Santa Monica. It's like, okay, I get it now with that weather tax because it was, but at that hour, I didn't have a ton of traffic because I could also go a different route, taking local roads if I didn't go on the 405. And then I'd come back, I work, and then the next day I do the same thing. And there,
Right.
I think the first couple of weeks I took the red eye
Ooh.
home, but that done with that. That's a wrap. And then I would take the first flight home. Yeah, Ali wants me to talk about the illegal supplement shop. True story. That what's it called? Like urban supplements or something. It's right across the street from the Bulletproof Lab, and is you can get supplements there that are not available in other places on Earth. And it's like you could go up to the dude at the counter and be like, "How do you guys sell this?" And they don't even know that it's banned or whatever. So
Right.
after doing that for so basically, I had a work schedule that allowed me to enjoy the day. I didn't have, and you're always in LA, so you look around like, what, motherfuckers don't have to work during the day? It's like everybody works at night. Like it's like the restaurant business and
Yep.
clubs and whatnot. It's like you always look around. It's like people are like surfing in the middle of the day, and they don't work. So they
Yep.
either have enough money or they just work at night. And the gym was, it's Gold's Gym for one, but it was never like super busy. But it was always a certain amount of people I always thought was interesting. They're like, who can always work out at like 11:30 a.m. on a Thursday? Like I don't.
Right.
So I would that was it. 3 days. So half the week I was there. I was like, all right. But I had a lifestyle that allowed me to do that. Like if you had to be really getting after it and waking up and have to deal with traffic every day. Even just there was one day I went up to see some of my buddies with the Dodgers. So I think it was like a Friday night or whatever it was. And so I drove during rush hour, and it probably took getting from Westwood to Burbank took maybe an hour. When I came home, it took 18 minutes. And the exact same route. And I was like, this can't be serious. Like this can't be
Right.
like it's but yeah, obviously during the 1 year of MARSOC, I was over there a couple times, but I've been through La Jolla several times, and
Beautiful.
yeah, it's to me it's kind of generic though. It doesn't. It seems like it could be anywhere, but maybe I just haven't been to the parts of La Jolla that.
Yeah, I joke with the people here. It's like this isn't real life. Like it's not. You know what I mean? Like where
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am, it's very like fantasy land, and I'm like joking with the people here. I'm like, y'all know this isn't real. This is like out of a movie. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean,
There's
you
something
point any
about it that
direction.
doesn't seem like it's
Yeah,
fabricated.
it's not real life. But yeah, it's beautiful. Again, for me, everyone was like, "Oh, you're a single man. You should go to L.A. or whatever." I'm like, "Nah, don't want nothing to do with that." I'm like, I
Yeah.
like San Diego. I love La Jolla by the beach. There's a track close to UCSD's track is here. I got grass. I got everything I need to train. Like I'm good. And speaking of that, which is funny, I just want to touch on this really quickly. And I know we can go so deep into training, but that's the one thing that I love about talking to people like yourself. And we can riff on this for a while, but people who actually are like, there's a difference between people say I went to train and then I went to work out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like I always
those are
joke
different
about that.
things. Yeah,
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 yeah. There's
yeah. And it's just so,
regular people work out. Regular
yeah,
people work
exactly. I
out.
was like, you'll never hear like the people that really are like maniacal about it, say they went to work out. It's like, I'm going to train. You know what I mean? Like there's a mission behind this.
Yeah, if I don't feel like waking up early tomorrow, I'll train in the afternoon. Like that's
Yeah, 100%. It's like I'm not going to work out. Never. It's never a workout at all.
Yeah, I probably come to think that you shouldn't necessarily be admonishing others for using the wrong terminology, but that's there's definitely a difference between training and working out, and it's
no, I feel you. No, I just and then not to ridicule folks at all. Sometimes that's what you need. Like a lot of people who give up on training move to working out. It's like, let me just jump on the elliptical or whatever.
I have heard people, I just work out like a normal person now. Like, no, I'm not. I still train.
I'm not training no more. So true.
And people ask me a lot. Like, I don't train how like we used to anymore. But the big reason was not because I can't. It's that you don't have a crew.
I agree.
It was, and then for obviously the stuff that I would do during my run that you got to see a lot of, it's, look, call a spade. Like, I don't think you can, I am not at the level where I can unrack 4 and 5 wheels on a bench or 7, 8, and 9 wheels on a monolift. You kind of need multiple people to spot. And in fact, you need like 2. Like, I'd rather have 2 people on the sides, especially like in a squad. Like, oh yeah, I'll get you. What are you gonna do? Like, if I'm hitting the deck with 700 pounds on my back,
you're going with me.
What are you actually gonna do? Like, two people on the sides can do that. But like in a meet where it was like real serious weight, you would have somebody from behind, but you would also have 2 people, on the bar on each side. Then you would have 2 people on the sides that would come under the wheels this way.
Oh, wow.
And then usually the head judge, because this only happened to me once. Here's the story. I think Tom was actually with me. Tom Phillips was with me. He came up to Lake George, and it was when I was going to try for 900. And that was my game plan. And what wound up happening, I put on my briefs and they just went up a little bit easy. I'm like, this is weird. Like, what's going on here? It turns out I had lost 7 pounds without knowing it. And I only weighed 193 so I didn't think much of it, but so you start warming up. And I was going to go for, yes, Josh, 900. My plan was very simple. I was going to go 750, 820, or whatever, something, and then 900. And take a run at it. And my last warm up was 675. So I unracked it, and because my briefs were so fucked up, and no one was spotting me because I was kind of known at least in Lake George that it's somebody's warm up. You shouldn't have to spot somebody on their warm up, and nobody thought enough that they I should have been able to just go up and down with 675, which I don't know if you ever saw me do that at the gym or not because it wasn't always on a Sunday. Or Saturday morning or whatever.
It was heavy as shit. That I know.
So I'm like, I didn't even remember what I felt. It wasn't like I felt like I was going to like break my back. I just dropped to my knees straight down, and then dropped the bar behind me. But it wasn't like because I had no, like it just happened. I kind of, it's really surreal to try to remember this. My ego was hurt more, but I just got up like whatever. I'm looking around like, why didn't somebody that's what it was. I'm waiting for somebody to like come underneath me and do this meaningless spot. Anyway, that was the reason. So now I opened up with 750, which is like an opener. That wasn't something that should have been a big deal to me. It is the only time in my life that I ever dumped a weight in a powerlifting competition. I unracked it and I just like fell forwards. And that's where what I just described, and that's not what got me out of powerlifting. Now the second lift I got 820, but the second lift I did 750 again and I killed it, and then got 820 on the third lift. But I didn't have 900 in me because I wasn't going to go from 750 to 900. I just wasn't going to do that. But I got out also because it takes a long time to warm up. Like if you're gonna be, yeah, I mean, like, let's call a spade. If you're gonna be working with like real numbers, you have to you kind of have to go like one wheel at a time. So I didn't
Yeah,
really have time for that anymore once I got back from Carolina. But
man. No, it's funny.
that's yeah,
Yeah, no, it's
that's
funny you mention that. And again, I think that again, training requires, right, if you're looking for those type of exponential results, a team, a crew of people to train with. And I try and explain it to people all the time, like the crew that we had there training, like
yeah.
it was some next level shit, some
Yeah,
next level stuff
and
going on.
the only thing that could have been better for me is probably because I probably was the strongest. I don't think you ever want to be that person. But I helped everybody else get a lot stronger, which is always the way it's supposed to be. And what I really
100%.
should have done was found another location where I could have been, one of the low men on the totem pole, so I could be challenged, etc. But whatever,
Yeah,
those were special. Those were special times. And there's
special.
so many people in our group that I still talk to, and Frank and Chris are going to be in my wedding, and obviously Frank was beyond crucial a couple of years ago. But that's where we went. We met at Tom Phillips' gym in Marlboro, right?
Yeah,
I think
that's where.
one day you were just there. Well, I think you had hooked up with Tom, and like,
Yep.
who's that tall black dude? And like, and nobody. And at that time, I think you had found. So you were living in Central New Jersey.
Yep. I was in. Yeah,
Which
I was in Metuchen.
yeah. So for those people that don't know, Metuchen has a significant history of not only developing all sorts of professional athletes, and I'm not quite sure why, but because the St. Joe's Metuchen isn't people that live in Metuchen. Like, it is some, but not. You
Fact.
can live anywhere. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure Bynum grew up in Metuchen. That's just where he went.
Right.
But as far as there's places on Earth that are known as Track Town, and people want to say Oregon, whatever the town in Oregon is Tracktown, USA. That's false. Toronto, Canada is Tracktown, USA. But Baton Rouge and all the SEC schools, etc. But there is a significant history of some serious track athletes that came out of Metuchen, as well as other parts of North Jersey. So
Yeah, for sure.
You had already graduated. You were in the midst of your run. So you were, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you found Tom to help you get ready for 2012.
No, I helped him. I found him to help me get ready for '08, like towards the end of '08.
Okay.
And then, right after that. And then it was short notice, right? And then he was like, all right, we got to break you down and then get you ready for the run in 2012. So that was the big one where we had kind of full plan together. Yeah. And to that point, I know a lot of people in New Jersey say that or whatever, but it's like Metuchen is the track mecca of track in New Jersey. Like, it's just
and
inarguable.
You were very impressed that I knew that.
Yeah.
No, you just know. It's,
right. And I know people like to argue it or whatever, but what makes it even more impressive is it's a very small town. But when you look at what we did in '97, if you go all the way back to the '70s, right, with Reggie Blackshear, like no high school, again, adjusted for size, you can do whatever you want. No high school compares to the track tradition in Metuchen. I'm sorry. I know there's probably some track folks on here. It's just the truth. If you look at what we did, national championship.
I don't know.
It's nuts.
Where else in New Jersey? Now, if you want to talk about long distance track, well, then you're going to talk about CBA. Probably some of the places, Hunterton, like some of the schools out there. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like running really fast, like if a bear was chasing you.
Yeah.
Now we might need to talk about Camden High. I don't think that's out of the question.
Oh no, of course, 100%.
Some of the areas down there, Willingboro. I think that's probably on the list, and then
Willingboro's on it. Yeah, all of the southern schools. But again, it's like, just to put that in perspective. Again, shout out to all my Camden people. But in '97, we put the beats on them. It was, and that was the thing. That whole year was a battle between Camden and us. And the whole thing was, how is this little white, like middle class town competing with all of this talent here? And the statement made that year was clear that the brainy borough, as they call it, right? Like, we took all comers. And it was something that, whether it was a local level all the way to the nationals, right? We went down to North Carolina and won a national championship. And at the state championship meet, they brought a whole bunch of folks up from Camden, and it was us. I mean, people to this day, and I go back to the state championship meet every year, to this day, people say that race in the 4x4 to end the meet was one of the best races they had ever seen. And, you know, and I'm very close with one of the guys on their team now. But far and away, we put our stamp in the you know, in the ground, and it's like, this is it. This is the mecca of track in New Jersey. Distance, yeah, hold up, but track and field is Metuchen, period.
Yeah. The distance a little different, but so then because we both graduated high school the same year, that's how I knew about Metuchen. Didn't know who you were from Adam, but so for people that aren't aware, when we say where you went to school next, would kind of give some validity and some credibility to the bravado of which you're speaking. You went to Georgia Tech to run track. So
absolutely.
To suggest, now I don't, you know, that's not the SEC, but if you're a Division I track athlete south of, you know, XYZ line, you're the real deal. So as you know, it's very interesting that when you were at Georgia Tech, it turns out that it falls into the small world category, since there was a number of other very fast human beings that I am familiar with that you were either teammates with or in the athletic department. Now the first one I think a lot of people would know. I will call him Megatron. But he Calvin Johnson also ran track, right? Like, he was on the track team with you, or no?
Not with me, but he did. Yeah, he did run track.
Yeah, like he probably, you know, stopped track at a certain point. And obviously, not only, you know, he wasn't just a great, you know, football player catching a football. I mean, this individual could fly.
Lights out athlete.
And to see him in his combine little outfit, that's why he's called Megatron, because that's around the same time the first Transformers movie came out. And you know, like when Megatron was under cryo because that's why they built the Hoover Dam, was to house the aliens. He was built just like, that's why he's called Megatron, because when he takes his shirt off, he has this look that looks just like a motherfucking Decepticon. So now. I don't know if you crossed with him, but also on that Georgia Tech football team, he didn't run track, I don't think, was a friend of mine who's now with the Memphis Grizzlies. His name is Eric Otter. And Eric Otter was on the football team, because I don't think he was on track. It was around the same time. And he was the Georgia State 100-meter record holder for a period of time. I don't know if he still is. Now, when I learned that about him, what made this very, very surprising was that Eric Otter's a white dude. And I never in a million years would have thought that the 100-meter high school track record in the state of Georgia would be held by someone like Eric Otter. So there's a lot of fast people. And I'm sure, and then while I don't know him personally, like maybe call it 1 or 2 degrees, I think you guys called him Joe. He's now known as Roman Reigns. He was like, that's what that's his real name, Joe something or other. He was on that. He was the middle linebacker on that team. So there's a lot of people like around that. It's so interesting.
Right.
How,
so
like,
let's
and there's a whole bunch of other people.
Oh, well, let's go back to the Georgia Tech athletic department when I was there. So I walk onto campus, right? I'm first generation high school graduate, let alone first time going to college. Angelo Taylor, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, is my teammate. I walk into practice, I see him, right? I see Derek Mills. I see Derek Atkins, who's a gold medalist as well. That's just on the track. Then you leave. Mark Teixeira lived upstairs, right? Joe Hamilton was up for the Heisman. Matt Kuchar was playing golf. You had Deion Glover and all those guys, Matt Harpering playing basketball. Like, it was it was freak shows all over the place. So yeah,
Bobby Cremins was the coach.
Yeah, and at that time, Georgia Tech a couple of years prior had run 2:59 in the 4x4, which at the time was the second fastest time ever. So it was incredibly legit. Now, again, times have changed. It's not a fully funded program anymore. Unfortunately, things have changed. But that run that we had, right, from 97, 98, 99, like 2000, I got in fall of 98. So that run there was credible. So, yeah, if you got recruited by Georgia Tech at that time, or even, listen, the ACC was incredible at that time. Totally different. And conferences go through their phases. But at that time, the ACC was incredibly legit.
Yeah, and then you moved on from Georgia Tech to come back home and went to Seton Hall, which again, if you follow track, and I follow more in the throws, but than the sprint. But Seton Hall kind of looked at as a small school, yes, outside of the couple runs that they've had in basketball, which there have been multiple. But that's also their big time track.
Big time track. Big time track.
Largely from keeping people from New Jersey,
getting
some people out of track in the city isn't much of a thing, but a little bit north of the city, when it opens up, Yonkers, etc. That's Seton Hall now. That's their recruiting area.
It was incredible talent there as well. All through, I think, Coach Moon has been there at least 35 years. So some incredible talent there. Kevin Lyles' sons now, his son Noah Lyles is the best 200 meter runner in the world. One of the best 100 meter runners in the world. The youngest son is a good 200, 400 guy. But yeah, the talent at Seton Hall was incredible. Again, another one of my teammates there, OJ Hogan's he got second at nationals indoors in the 400. So yeah, I'd always been surrounded by incredible Olympic talent, people that have gone pro in all sports, but especially in track and field. And then to go back to, just to tie up the Metuchen thing really quickly, again, it's more about the bravado that comes from the head coach, who's like a father to me, and some of the teams that were there, because he very much embodies being teams. But there's still arguments to this day about whether the 08 team, right, which had I believe DeJuan Miller, who he was a receiver at Oklahoma, was better than the 97 team, which was my team, which is, there's so many different 99, like there's so many different really, really good teams that completely dominated the state of New Jersey. And you and I have had this conversation before. There are few states that are recruited more highly than New Jersey, right?
Again,
California, Georgia, Texas.
Yeah, I'm far more familiar with other sports, but I think there was one year, and I don't remember the year, let's see. I think 4 out of the top 5 ranked recruits in Division I basketball all came out of New Jersey. You had Tim Thomas, Malik Allen, Shawnee. You had Brian Lynch from CBA. All 3 of them went to Villanova, and then the 4th was Shaheen Holloway from. These guys are all a little bit younger than us. They see Shaheen Holloway and Seton Hall. These were all New Jersey guys. I don't remember who the 5th one was, but they were like the top 4. And when you look at for a state where you can only play outdoor sports, part of the year, right? It's
remarkable.
Very, very significant when you look at those sports. So then you finish Seton Hall, and you started to have a little bit of a career with in competition. So then what's the gap there to get to 08? How many years there in the middle?
So it's funny. It's when I started meeting you and started training with you guys, what I had told Tom and why I had gotten there is my Olympic journey is a very interesting one, most of heartbreak. But in 04, so I graduated in 02, I got a 5th year. So because the reason I left Georgia Tech was because I got kicked out. I just didn't go to class.
Yeah, we
So
had some things. Yeah.
yeah, didn't go to class. So finished at Seton Hall. So I was lucky enough that my coach at Georgia Tech redshirted me. So I had a fifth year. So I lost my years in between, my 3 years in between. So I only got to run my freshman year and my senior year. A lot of people don't know that. I lost everything in between. So I knew I had a lot in the tank, and a lot of people were like, look, if you want to run at the next level, you can. And I had been through so much. I didn't really give it much of a thought. I just knew I loved track and field. At 16 years old, I fell in love with it. I watched Michael Johnson, like a lot of folks our age, win with the gold shoes. And I'm like, that's something I want to do. I didn't know what the process was. I didn't know anything. I literally stepped out on this journey alone, which is why, again, and I'll get to this, where you come in and Tom come in and others. So that's 2002. I'm done, and I start training, and then I go back to my high school coach. I'm like, I want to keep training. I want to keep working out. In 2004, I qualified for the Olympic trials. I ran 45.93. I qualified for the trials. My stuff is packed. I'm in the car. I'm on the way to the airport, and just so turns out, dude that went to Seton Hall and was coaching and doing some stuff at times, really involved in shout to Garfield, is involved, and he said he called me, right? And he was super excited for me and called me, and he goes, where are you? And I'm like, man, I just, you know what I mean? I got my hair cut. I just did the whole, oh my God, he's going to the Olympic trials thing. I'm like, I'm on my way to the airport. And I'll never forget, I was down the street from my house, and he goes, don't get on a plane, bro. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, they took 27 guys. You and the 28th guy have the same time. They left you both out. Heartbroken. Now, here's what's crazy about that. If you go back every other year, they took at least 30 for the field of 400 runners. They took at least 30. That year, they didn't. So I tell my mother, I said, it just didn't work out. Whatever. 2 weeks, deep, fall into depression. I was just over it. What's crazy is the guy who had the same time as me, his name was Joe Mendel from New Jersey, incredible talent. We had each other's number because at that point, it's different now, but because of technology or whatever, but we would travel around, run meets, and you would refresh on a computer at that point to see if the list had changed, right? And it took a while for entries to go in. And we were at the same meet together in Illinois. We both, again, ran the same time, and we just were like, all right, well, we just got to wait and see. It's like they took at least 30. We both should be good. I get home, I call him, and he goes, Tyrone, I can tell you one thing. I will never do this again. He's like, I'm done with track. If you continue on, God bless you, bro. I will never put myself through this again. He was heartbroken, as was I. So now I'm like, all right. And it's funny, I have it next to me. I was just looking at this, in this book is this journey. I have every workout I've ever done for the last 20 years in this journal. Every single workout since 2001. And if you go to that, the 2004 to 2005 part, there's a lot of tears on the pages in there, but it took me a while to get back on the horse. So now in 2006, I started working on Wall Street. And you start working on Wall Street, you start seeing things. Life becomes a little different. You're like, do I really want to continue this or not? And I knew I was still training, still compete. In 2005, I had a hell of a year, right? I'd run sub 46 again. I'd PR'd indoors. I was running out of my mind training with my high school coach. And I was sitting at work. And at my new job, and this is right around the time 300 that came out or something like that, and then kettlebells was the whole big thing or whatever. And again, I'll get to this where you come in, but I'd never had any formal training. I'd never been in. No,
I remember that. I remember you saying that.
I'm gonna out train everybody on the track, but my nutrition was garbage. I never really lifted like that. I never did any of that. So when I got to Tom and I sent him an email. I said, look, I'm doing this all by myself. This is my dream. I was like, I really want to make this come true. He said, come see me. And I went to see him, and he was like, and I'm like, look, man, I really don't have the money. I looked at the fees. I don't have the money to pay you. He goes, all I ask is that when you do make it, that you give me a testimonial. And he didn't flinch, and he looked at me, and I was like, oh, I'm home. You know what I mean? Like, it's on. And from that point on, he was like, I'm going to give you access to all the resources and people that I know, and we are going to make this happen. And again, we had caught it right at the end of 2008, so it didn't really work. So right at the time you came along is when he was like, you got to trust me on this, but in order for you to go forward now, you got to go backwards. Like, we got to break you down. You'll get slower, but we got to fix your mobility, everything. Because you saw, like, you used to call me the crane, right? When we when we deadlifted. Like,
I think I'm very comfortable saying that, and this is a little bit impersonal to you, so it has nothing to do with you as a person, but watching you train, working with you helped me really understand a lot of things about a lot of things. Number one, you already mentioned one, where sometimes when individuals have some very special gifts, they can succeed despite not having significant, and track is different because track is a general skill to begin with.
Yes.
But you can be elite. And obviously many years before you, one of the few professional athletes I do typically reference by name was Allen Iverson. Never did anything to prepare himself to be an elite football player or a professional basketball player. And that to me is like, okay, well, if you're endowed with these gifts, which in your case is anthropometry, which we can get to the crane. I think a lot of people see that in more of the female, just based on what females wear when they're running track. They appear to have really, really long legs. Well, because they do. But anybody, almost anybody who is very, very gifted in linear speed, or almost anything explosive, they will have incredibly long legs and a very, very short torso. There's reasons that makes you very, very fast from a physics standpoint. Like, it's basically your trunk is the inherent instability. So if your trunk is shorter, it's a lot easier to control a ruler that goes from here to here than a yardstick.
Right.
And then you have more opportunity to create whip, which is not a real word, but torque, because the lever. And then when you look at the legs individually, when your tibia, your lower leg, is longer rather, than your femur, you have another advantage because you get more whip from the knee. Mm-hmm. A longer lever is good now, and then that extends into the foot and the toes, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't always tell because guys wear shorts and girls don't. So it looks like they have legs that go forever. But that's one thing. But then also how you took advantage. Look, strength and power can be had from a number of different places. Yep. And when people are gifted by having, you can be gifted genetically in any form, but if you have incredibly high rate of force development, you may not be able to lift a whole lot of weight one time slowly, but you can charge so much into a lift. So now in your case, you're like, you have these advantages to deadlift. Except you would deadlift so fast, but you didn't know how to deadlift,
right? And
it's like the bar and your head. You didn't take advantage of having such a short torso. But for most people, I don't know what you ever got up to. Probably
505, I believe 505.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be as much as me, but
we knew that.
Actually, I would have said you got into the sixes, but I don't remember. Maybe I don't remember. Blocks.
Yeah. Tom would know.
Yeah. Anyway, and then I don't know if you want to get into the 2012 piece. But obviously because a lot of people from my side here that are listening, from a training standpoint, when you do like basically a CrossFit style deadlift where the bar is so far out in front of you and you're almost getting to parallel with your trunk and head, you have no choice but to throw your head back. Yeah. And that may or may not start to lead to some back issues, but it's going to load up those hamstrings. And your hamstrings are becoming a parachute. So they feel tight. So you think you're doing something really, really good, but ideally your hamstrings, as you sit back, instead of coming forward, the hamstrings should be like a rubber band.
Right.
And then and then I think coming into 2012 and then beyond, there was some hamstring issues that
Hmm.
kind of added some more insult to to this. So I think you were on target for 2012, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
So, and again,
yeah.
I think this is a good moment because I don't want to let this live pass without me thanking you publicly. And I've had a few people to thank along the way that poured into me, because what you don't know is that I woke up one morning in 2012 and was going to commit suicide. And you were one of the people that I felt like I let down. So now is an opportunity, one, to tell you I am forever indebted, because you don't realize, like, and it's funny how the world works. You DM me on Facebook to do this. Our last conversation was from 2012 in January. And I knew that if I was going to have my best shot, I had access to you and I wanted to use you. And I remember I thought so long and hard about sending you that message, because we weren't, at that time, you were around, I was around. We didn't really vibe and laugh about Tupac like we had ended up doing. But
Well, we need to talk about that. So you
we'll
dropped
get
it
to
on
that.
me. You dropped
Yeah.
it on me, but
Yeah,
we got to talk
we'll get
about
to
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so I want to send you this message, and I send you the message, and you were, again, you're just your normal big-hearted, loving self. You're like, bro, whatever. Like, yes, absolutely, I'll help you do it. But you were instrumental to helping me get to that point and be very clear. What people really don't understand, I was 32 years old. And if my 32-year-old self had raced my 24-year-old self that year, it wouldn't have been close. I was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
freak at 32 years old, when you're supposed to be on a downslope as your career as a sprinter. You were responsible. And I almost felt like I was like this science project in the gym with you guys, where it was kind of like, all right, well, let's see, we can see so many things wrong, but we can fix this. And so I had gotten in the best shape of my life. So one, I want to thank you personally, because I have a responsibility to thank people that poured into my dream. Unfortunately, it didn't come true. And one of the things that drove me that morning to feel like I needed to take my own life was, I knew you had worked with the best athletes and all this other stuff. People can Google it, but I was like, man, I let him down. I felt like I let you down. I felt like I let Tom down, a lot of different people. And I just didn't know how I was going to show my face in the gym anymore, because I just felt like a failure. But all I can tell you is this: I gave it my all, man, and I wouldn't have been able to without you. So I'm grateful for that. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, I was well on track. I had started off the season right when because we had been doing really ridiculous training that winter. My winter season, when I opened up at a PR.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, I
and which
remember.
from year, yeah, I mean, lights out, and it was super easy. And I told Tom, I'm like, this is it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
if it just needs to stay here. And I was well on pace. And, my grandmother passed away this Thursday before I was supposed to go race that January. And literally from that point on, my whole life fell apart. So it was hard to focus on. I'm surprised I kept it as long as I did, because as well as I do, nutrition, sleep, all those things could be optimal. But if you're fighting this, doesn't matter. And my whole life just fell in, and things just kind of went nuts. And then I ended up tearing my groin, 2-3 weeks before the trial. So,
Yeah.
and that was it. But yeah, so that was
Yeah.
2012 in a nutshell.
Yeah, but I remember whether it was after that or not. I believe that while you would train with some of us in the gym, I went out in the parking lot and sprinted with you. And I have sprinted with an Olympic 400-meter runner, Olympic level, because that's obvious. Whether you actually did that or not, I don't think it's out of line to say, like, when you have the
Appreciate that.
In training, we call them MKS sports, meters, kilometers, seconds. Like, you can say who's better and who's not when it is not objective. It's not
Right.
like team sports where you're always going to say the 86 whatever versus the 94. Like, no, in MKS sports, like, no, like, he was faster than him. So when you look at the numbers, that's very fair to say. And I remember very clearly you eyeballed me at a sub 540. Yeah. Oh, he agrees. That's no. I'm not slow now. Now I don't know what I am now. Obviously, I can still do some shit, but I don't. You know, it's I'm not slow, and that was a
No,
very
that was
special
fun.
thing. Like,
Yeah, I miss those times, man. I miss them.
yeah,
I miss them.
the other elite track star that as you know I've worked with because it's on Instagram. She looks a little bit different than you. I wonder if she's Lolo's about the same height as you. So
Probably.
so now very probably some point early in when you were training with us in New Jersey. It would always be like whether Matt got there first. It damn sure wouldn't have been me. Not because I don't like rap music. It's that I don't like loud. Like I want quiet, like dark. And I don't need to turn the lights on. It's like, is anybody here? But then you hear the plates clang. Yeah, like I'm already warming up. But and I was probably mouthing like, dude, why we gotta listen to this shit? Like why can't we just be quiet?
Yes.
And then maybe you said something probably cliche like what you know about that or whatever. Because I've grown up in my professional. I've been in professional sports my entire working career. I don't know that I would communicate with this tone with anybody. But when you're around basketball, you learn to talk a certain way, and sometimes obviously it's funny. My intent is humor, and if somebody doesn't think it's funny, that's okay. We can handle it some other kind of way. And I'm like, hold on, you talk about this. Because it was probably Biggie that was playing,
yes,
and then that segued into Biggie and Tupac, and then you probably said like, what you know about Tupac? I said, yo, Tupac forgot where he came from. And
yes, that was it. And I was like, what?
Now, like a lot of people, let's just call it how it is. Like I said, we're going to speak very freely. A lot of people that would follow my work, probably would be very, that, oh my God, are you allowed to say that? Because if you were to say, yo, you forgot where you came from with a certain tone, that would be a very aggressive statement. That's not something you just mess around with. I don't think it's going to start a riot, but it could start a fight.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you were then shocked at, how I would make such a claim of commenting on Tupac, and I went on to, I said, like, tell me what you know about, like, what do you know about Tupac, this and that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like I said, well, what was the first time you ever heard Tupac? And I don't remember, say right, like, what would you have said now that you obviously know the truth about Tupac? What would you say is the first time you heard
I'm sure I answered Brenda's
something
Got
commercial.
A Baby. I'm sure it was Brenda's Got a Baby, probably.
All right. I said, well, who was the first person that gave Tupac the opportunity to be on a record? Spelled RECKUD, record. Because we're both from New Jersey. We have a little bit of accent.
Record.
Yeah, on a record. Like, when was the first time anybody heard Tupac? And you're like, you didn't know, because people don't know.
I did it.
And I said, like, well, I don't remember what way to segue, but the answer to this question was, like, my concern and my distaste for Tupac.
Yeah, shout to Matt checking in with the answer.
It's not his music. He's a brilliant musician and incredibly talented.
Digital Underground.
How do you go from walking around with a fake bulletproof jacket on,
God,
becoming this social messenger when you never hear Tupac give credit or thanks to Digital Underground, who at that time in the early 90s, rap was like, there was no message. That's where I would say Nas screwed it all up, because Nas made rap serious. Now you had the West Coast, like the NWA, they obviously had a very serious message, but most of rap was like, I'm a better rapper than you, which is obviously in the East Coast how rap started. It was these battles with like Kool Moe Dee and Busy
Wait,
Bee.
so I have to stop you here really quickly. First of all,
I ain't done.
I know you're not. I just need to say, I need to let people know this is the exact intensity that the conversation happened. Minus the red line.
Yeah, I'm good. It's 6 p.m. When it's 7 p.m. I'm not coked up on no caffeine now. So, so you would never heard, and then you're like, what do you mean? Tupac was never with Digital Underground, because Digital Underground was straight silly. Like, it was just meant to be fun, and I'm sure there's still rappers like that, like Chance the Rapper, who, by the way, we saw in the Miami Dolphins training room. You know, like, we didn't know who he was because he wasn't like that big yet, and we were like, well, if he's Chance the Rapper, like he's the rapper, shouldn't we know who he is? And we didn't know who he was. So,
please send me some boxes of Redline, please.
Yeah.
Wifey saying you the plug.
I see that. Well, no, she wants me to do the Humpty Hump impression, but first, when I put in the little tweets that we were going to do this, I said, you've seen me sprint, which you now confirmed, the sub 540, and you know, with the oculometer, and you've heard me rap. And I said, like you had no idea, and most people don't, that Tupac got his start as being like a little extra dude in Digital Underground. And I said, like, all right, if I do this rap, I'm not going to try to do his voice because I can't do Tupac's voice like I can do other people's voice. But he's got such a unique tone, like, you know, it's him. Like, you can hear, like, if I try to sound like Tupac, then it'll, yeah, that's like, what are you doing? You're trying to rap like Tupac. Like you stop it. You're ridiculous. So then when I actually did it, I said, now tell me if this sounds like Tupac to you. I said, so now I clown around when I hang around with the underground. Girls used to frown, say I'm down when I come around. Gas me when they pass me, used to diss me, harass me. But now they ask me if they can kiss me. Get some fame, people change, want to live your life by. Same song came along if I played the nice guy. Okay, so that's...
Oh my God!
I want to know, and we can. This is gonna go blast. This is gonna go whatever. I would like to know, Tupac historians, why did he never give credit to Digital Underground for putting him on the map? That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well,
I'd like to know. You didn't know.
So two things here.
Oh my God.
Two things here. So I don't know if Matt's still on. Matt is still a rap historian. So yeah, Matt would know.
Go ahead, Matt.
That's ridiculous. See, there's Matt.
That's ridiculous. I'd like to know what's ridiculous.
So the second thing is, I want to make it clear, I didn't grow up a big Tupac fan. I was Biggie all the way. So that beef with them, I was riding with East Coast the whole way. So funny story with that. I remember, so at Nationals, indoor Nationals, my senior year was the weekend Biggie got killed. And there was a team at the time, John Muir High School, right? And Long Beach Poly was there as well. We were in Boston. Actually, no, Long Beach Poly wasn't. It was John Muir. And whatever, the race is over, whatever, and the news actually starts to leak. And they like joking around that Biggie died. And I wanted to fight. Like, I was ready to fight. So yeah, I was more of I'd always been that way. I'd never really had gotten into Tupac at that point. I've grown to appreciate him. So yeah, at the time when you were poking around there, I'm like,
hey, we can. I would like to know.
But I think Matt,
why Tupac never gave credit to the people that gave him the opportunity.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a Matt question.
You poured your heart in a very emotional situation relative to you. And I actually 100% agree. I just messaged somebody something very similar where, hey, I would like to thank you for all that you've done for me and de facto my wife now, Allie. And these messages will never stop. And then period. And I hit send. Because it's so easy to thank people. It's so easy it's not hard. Like but people don't do that. And a little bit of the chip on my shoulder for a lot of people that don't do that to me, so I'll admit that. I'd like to know why Tupac won't do it. I'd like to know. There's somebody out there that knows why Tupac.
Matt knows.
Matt knows. Well, look, Matt. Maybe Matt's heading for the hills. Is Matt still on? Okay. So now, I mentioned before that as it relates to Tupac, I can't do his voice. Like, I don't know that I can do. However, I can do other voices. And most of the voices, like when I do my presentations and whatnot, it's just me trying to sound like somebody else. However, there is a voice that I'm told is like, wait a minute, oh my God, like it's not my Spanish, even though like if you're talking to me on the phone and I use I talk Spanish, you're not going to know I'm a gringo. The voice in question is actually related to Tupac at all, and that is the voice of none other than Humpty Hump, who is a significant member of Digital Underground. And let me see if I can pull this out. It's always easier to do what you like better than Humpty Dance because like the little.
What would do what you like?
Yeah. The clips are a little bit shorter. So let's see. No, let me get. I'm happy.
I don't think I'm ready. All right, there you go. You're back. Everyone's ready now. I'm ready for classic moment.
Yeah. Somebody was trying to call me, so I said I'm the one that said just grab them in the biscuits, and like so. At first I looked to the side like my leg was broke and shaking and twitching, kind of like I was smoking. Crazy why, huh? People say you look like MC Hammer on crack, Humpty. That's all right, because my body's in motion. It's supposed to look like a fit or a convulsion. Anyone can play this game. So
this is my dance, yo.
But like like whenever somebody does a voice, like you think it's dead on, and like
God,
like what you hear is not what you hear when you're saying it. I am told, and now people that will watch this will have the opportunity to critique.
How do you do that so good?
I don't know. What's this? Let me see.
Oh my God!
I don't like to rhyme, but I'm trying to think of the words to do what you like.
Oh my goodness! This is classic IG right now.
I'm a neck bone. You don't have to say please. Eat what you like. Sound how you like. Now. That's.
Oh my God!
Now that goes over usually pretty well in the locker room.
I got tears in my eyes. My God!
And being able, the Tupac piece, does command a little bit of respect, around when I'm around African American athletes.
Yes.
Because it's true, and it's like it's got a point because now. It's just ironic that the Humpty Hump voice is a little bit Samoans. Yeah, like that's all right. So let's move on here, and I think I'm actually excited to learn a little bit on you've now, as you mentioned earlier, you're in Wall Street. We always knew you to be a financial guy. I think one of the big banks that you were at, and then you moved on.
Merrill.
Yep, Merrill, and now a significant piece to your at least public message, which even however many years ago it wasn't. We had access to Facebook and Twitter, but it wasn't such a thing. It would be this crypto thing. So I don't know if you scour my Twitter. I am far more interested in cryptozoology, which would include the study of Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and other chupacabra, other things. Cryptocurrency, though, is a little bit different, and that's your thing. And if somebody wants to know a little bit about what that is, go ahead and take a few minutes there to talk about what are your new passions.
So it's funny. So the hype now is all about Bitcoin. I guess I'll start there because, that's the one that people care about and people hear about, and it has the biggest brand and message.
Why is that? So is that, why is that one more important than others?
It was the first one. So it was first, right? So it has that leader advantage. 2009. So happy birthday, Bitcoin just passed, right? So January 3rd. So Bitcoin is now 12 years old.
If I can interject, a couple people when we were going through our rap conversation said that's ridiculous. I think Matt said that a couple times. I'm going to say it's ridiculous that you just wished a Bitcoin happy birthday. But go ahead. So Bitcoin is internet money, right? So cryptocurrency is just, it's a way for people to transact value. And I'm trying to think of the words to make this simple for people because you can get in the weeds, especially if you're a crypto hippie like me, as I explain, to people. It's internet money. That's it. We've had everything on the internet except for money. So think of it as digital cash. Think of it as, again, money native to the internet that allows me to send Charlie money or Charlie send me money without a third party, without a bank, right? And then you get into blockchain and all that other stuff. What's interesting is, right, and where it starts to get really interesting is
talk to anyone that uses a traditional bank, right? 3 to 6 days for your money to settle, right? You can send money between Poland and France faster than you can between two banks in the same city in the United States. All of these different things. Cryptocurrency is just making our financial infrastructure faster, cheaper, and when you get into the weeds here a little bit, the Bitcoin blockchain is what they say immutable. So you can't change it. The transactions and everything there are public. Everyone can see it. They can't be changed. So if you look at it overall, it's a really big shift in financial services and all things eventually. So I fell in love with it 2015, and for the last 5 years has fell down a rabbit hole, and now it's my whole life 24/7. But Bitcoin is, again, the one that everyone hears about and has the biggest memes, and it's almost like a religion, how people, interact with it and deal with it. But it's a really huge rabbit hole to go down. But cryptocurrency now as a whole, right, where you have different cryptocurrencies. Folks may have heard of Ethereum or Ripple or all these other things. Similar, but just clones of Bitcoin that try and have different use cases for people to simply, again, transact value.
All right. And then what is it seems like that this is not only money to exchange hands, but also something to invest in.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's a really good point, because it's not an investment for everybody, right? For those to invest in it, you would have to be very knowledgeable. You would have to be, really involved to understand if it makes sense from an investment standpoint. For 99% of the people watching this and people in the world, it's not an investment. It's a speculative thing for people to trade, but an investment, you got to have a longer term time horizon. You got to educate yourself on it. And you really have to understand its use cases and value. Now, this is why I separated it into two things. There's Bitcoin little b, right, which is the token, the value that people see. You see the price change. There's Bitcoin big B, which is the technology, right? The Bitcoin blockchain, the technology that allows for that transfer of, again, value between two people with an internet connection and a phone. Literally, that's all you need. You can't directly invest into that, but when you look at some of the things that it is allowing people to do to transact value and things like that, you're starting to see a lot of the big banks, a lot of really large, rich people say, all right, Bitcoin is something I can invest in due to what's going on with our government printing money like crazy and everything else. So that's a really good point. Not an investment for everybody, but can be.
Let me ask you this, because it might tie into some of the folks that I deal with. Obviously, some of the Rock Nation guys in the NBA, I don't want to say their names for whatever reasons. And then I saw an NFL player. They accept their contract in Bitcoin or crypto. Now, what is it that they're doing, and why are they doing that?
Great question. So that headline was a little bit of a misnomer, right? So what they're basically doing is no NFL team can pay, or no sports franchise can pay a player in Bitcoin. What they can do, and in this case, Okung, they're paying him in dollars, and he's going to use a company that's going to convert his dollars into Bitcoin. Right?
Because it's a contract. Because he has a certain amount that's guaranteed that he can do that with.
So he's just taking half of his salary. He's done, again, they're going to pay him in dollars, and this company's going to convert his contract into Bitcoin. Now, what you're going to start to see is this is going to start to be a trend. And again, the other athlete I'm assuming you're talking about is, again, basketball player, right? He's been very much involved in the space. Again, I won't say his name, but folks can look it up. Saying that he wants to, again, either tokenize his contract, which is, again, something that blockchain allows, or get paid in Bitcoin. So you're going to start to see this a lot. As people start to realize, right, it's hard to look at the performance of Bitcoin over the last 12 years and not go, wait a second, how am I not paying attention to this? And I think a lot of athletes are looking at that as well. But right now, any athlete that's getting paid in Bitcoin is basically saying, all right, I'm going to take X amount of my salary, I'm going to convert it and buy Bitcoin to be able to do that. So No, they're not paying him in Bitcoin. They're paying him with a certain amount of his salary that's going to be earmarked to buy Bitcoin. Still impressive.
So like CV or whoever, like they're just investing in
exactly
that kind of significant amount of money.
Right. That's all. Yeah. Right. That's all it is.
And
so whatever.
So that's when you suggest it's a little misleading, they're basically taking their money and putting it into Bitcoin.
That's all.
And they're just earmarking the money the guaranteed money that they have from their contract into.
And there's a company called Zip that is going to take that, and then again, so what they do is they connect on the back end to allow when your paycheck hits. Right, that it goes into Bitcoin and is bought. That's what they're allowing. Again,
so anybody could do that. You just got to feel.
Yeah, you have anybody could do that. Yeah, so
like one Bitcoin is like 20K.
No, is it 30 something thousand now? Like 32,000, I think, before we came on. So yeah, and that's the thing about it is two things. One, anyone could do it, as you said, so he can go to his teammates and say, hey, you guys should do this too, this, that, or whatever. And then the other thing is, with the price of Bitcoin, right, it's very volatile right now. It moves around. So depending on when he gets paid and then the price of Bitcoin, that's gonna fluctuate, and it's a risk that he's taken. But he is very much in the weeds with this. Like he is all in, so he doesn't care, like myself, like looking at it 5, 10, 15 years out. And the truth is this: the greatest generational wealth transfer in the country is happening right before our eyes. It's happening. If you are fluent in money, which I talk about, the majority of Americans aren't fluent in money. Those that are fluent in money know this is happening, and they are actively positioning themselves to get in front of this wealth transfer. He sees that, right? He sees it. Other people see it. Paul Tudor Jones, one of the most famous investors ever, sees it. Like, there are people that are seeing it in different areas and saying, all right, this is where all the money is shifting. Our government in the last couple of days have made some serious announcements as it pertains to digital currencies and blockchain and all stuff. This is coming, and it's real, and it's not going away. And the more people ignore it, they're going to be left out. And all people, right? But definitely those that are at the bottom, that don't have access to financial services, those that do have the ability to invest and put money into this. There's a lot happening here. And what I've been trying to do is just get people's attention to it. Say, I don't care whether you put money into it or not. I really don't. I need you to know it's here, though, and it's not going away. And I think you're starting to see our government, China, Russia, doing their own central bank digital currencies. Like, this is a real thing that's not going away. And there's going to be a lot of wealth stripped away from people and moved into this arena if they don't get on board quickly.
All right. Well, that's so it's maybe the when it's not a blue chip in terms of because of the volatility, but sometimes when people start to put their nose into some of these things, you realize like one share of one of these blue chip stocks of a company that everybody knows is like, a lot of money for just one share.
Yeah,
you probably need to really make a dent into this. Buying one Bitcoin maybe doesn't get the job done. You need a lot of capital to get into this.
Right, but the beautiful thing though is Bitcoin is divisible, so you can buy pieces of it, right? So you
almost like I knew to ask you that, right?
Yeah. Ta-da! But yeah, you can buy $1 worth, or you could buy $100,000 worth. It's up to you. So it is divisible. Same thing with stocks now, by the way, right? Like, I've been preaching the importance of, like, half of the country doesn't own stock. That's a problem. And there's never been a better time to learn and get started, because now there's fractional shares. You can buy small pieces of stock. And for people who have not grown up with that, like I didn't, people who just, it's out there, the stock market is that thing. Like, the government has basically said to Americans, you're on your own. We don't care. We don't care about you. It's about the global elite. We're taking care of them. Now is the time for people to start getting money fluent and start to understand these things and not just leave money to be this boogeyman in the corner, because the government has basically said where they stand. They have no desire to educate, right? 21 high schools in the country require a personal finance course in high school, way too late, right? There is still 25% of the country that are either what they call unbanked or underbanked. Issue, right? We don't have a real-time payment system, right? Why doesn't money settle now? They don't care, right? So there's all of these things out there. 70% of black communities don't have access to a bank branch. Are you kidding me? It's 2021, right? So all of these things, the government has basically said, you guys are on your own in terms of living in a capitalist society, but not speaking the language. We're not going to teach the language in school. You got to figure it out yourself. It's not that important to us. You got to figure it out, though. But you live in a capitalist society and you don't speak the one thing that allows you to prosper, right? Because if I'm in a foreign country and I don't speak the language and I just simply need bread and water, and I don't know how to say bread and water, I can point to it or I can say whatever and point at my mouth. I'll get a little bit. That's what's happening now with most of the people in this country. But when you start to become fluent in money, you start to realize your whole world opens up. And it's easier to deal with the mortgage. It's easier to deal with the car note and my rent versus whether I should mortgage, whether I should put some money here, whether I should start my own business. 75% of people who start small businesses in America are financially illiterate. So now you're making the mistake twice. So these are things that I think my job is to bring light to this and educate people to get them to understand you are financially illiterate and not money fluent in in the country that dares you to walk around blindfolded when it comes to money. You'll suck wind financially your whole life.
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of people on my side that'll be seeing this, particularly on the fitness side, like you talk about, starting your own business, because sometimes the only way to improve their personal stock is to really what they need to do is work for themselves. They just want to make their own. However, the only way to work for yourself is to run your own business, and it becomes incredibly impossible to build the product and manage the business. So I think that's a message, and the other thing that we'll see a lot, both probably in the young physical therapy, but certainly strength and conditioning and fitness, is the suggestion that you should be doing these things. You should be getting it, like you suggest, get into stocks or keep your eye on certain things, Bitcoin, whatever it might be. And then their response would be, well, I can't afford it. And I usually would continue that conversation by saying, how can you not afford it? Obviously when it comes to money, it's a very touchy topic. But I think some of the things that you're saying, I hope people hear them and just from a different voice or a different person. There's one last thing I want to talk about, and you mentioned very, very briefly, and throughout this, we've used a particular talking about rap and talking about me working in professional sports, working with you and all the names that you mentioned. And then you mentioned something, and I think most people know when we do these, this is completely unscripted. We don't talk at all about what we're going to talk about. We probably have a good idea that I was going to talk about Tupac. You mentioned something about banks in the African American community, and I know it's very easy for a lot of people to say that I don't see color, and I think I understand what that means, but I also understand why that's probably not something that we should say. And a lot of people want to, we talk about communication and listening, et cetera. I would like anybody who has gotten this far and listens to this, if there's something that you could say in a very safe way to help someone like me or others continue to try to be part of a solution, it would honor me to be able to ask you that. So please do that.
Absolutely. So I would be honored to, and I owe you that again for all of you done for me and you poured into my life. Again, I wish you would take your flowers more because you're an incredible, big-hearted human being. You're incredibly smart. You're giving. And again, I couldn't thank you any more. I just wish you would take your credit more because you're an incredible. You're a first-rate human being, without a doubt. Let me say this. And I've been doing this a lot since I watched another black man die in the street last year. And I still haven't watched that video, and I refuse to. And I appreciate what you said. And I've had a lot of conversations with white men and white women and white people. And I say this, right? One of the things that's important here to understand is being a black man in America, dealing with the police is the last of it. I've been called a nigger to my face more times than I care to remember. I've been called a monkey. I've been told I wasn't worth it, right? There's 1.5 black men in America that are simply missing, right? There are black men dying every day in Chicago and nobody cares. If that was another race, they would have sent in the cavalry a long time ago. 10% of 8th grade black boys in America cannot read. Only 10% read at level. 90% cannot read at an 8th grade level. I say all that to say this, and I've been having this conversation a lot. First of all, privilege is not to be damned. Privilege is to be acknowledged and used. Nobody should be ridiculed for something that they started with that they had no control of. So the goal is to use the privilege that I have and use it. No, and I've had this conversation with a lot of white men. It's not about feeling bad about who you are or you being white or any of that. What it's about is using it to help other people. Do not feel bad about it. But you bringing me on here, using your platform to have people to see another face, to hear another voice. For the way you poured into me, you didn't go, I wonder if I should help him because he looks African American. No, you helped me, right? And I say this all the time to people. If I'm drowning, I don't care about the color of the life preserver. I'm not going to say, go get me a red one. Go back to shore and get a yellow one and come back. I'll drown here till you get back. People in America need help, and they need it from whoever and wherever right now. So as we go into a time where racism in this country has been exposed, there's so many people divided, I definitely need people, if they don't take anything away, to understand this. Feel free. On both sides. One, folks should have the space to say, hey, are you African American or are you black? I just want to be sure. Are you, how do I pronounce your name correctly? All these other things. And on the flip side, people not get so, how could you not know that? We need to leave space for people to be wrong and correct them. No, my name is Tyrone. I identify as black. I'm not African American or whatever it is. That's the first thing. And the other thing is, for all of my white brothers and sisters out there, it is okay to say black, not black and brown, not people of color, not minorities. Some issues are just simply black issues. And that is okay because there are a lot of brown people who don't deal with what black people deal with, right? So I just think we need to be able to segment those, but not feel as though you can't say something and not rely on people. And also, I will end on this note. Rely on your allies like you just did. And I'll give you a great example. And thank you for doing that. I had a conversation with a gentleman. He runs a $15 billion firm. He was on the firm. He had his whole company on. And I did one of these talks for his company. And he said, Tyrone, I'm scared. I don't know what to say. If I say something wrong, then I could be, and I'm running a business and he said it in front of his whole company. And that was a breakthrough. And I said to him the same thing that I would say to you and anybody else watching this. I consider you a friend for life. I'm an ally. So use me, right? If there's something you're uncomfortable with or you want to say something, use the people in your life. And this is why I say, look around, people. When was the last time you sat down and had a conversation with somebody who doesn't look, walk, talk, and act like you? If you don't change it, get around black people, Spanish people, only like Asian. whatever, gay, whatever it is, get around other people. Get out your little bubble. It's okay to sit and converse with other people, train with other people, eat with other people, work with other people, invest with other people, because now you start to get exposed to things that you may not have known. So again, I think that's a wonderful way for you to end this and to say that. But white man, white male, whoever, white woman, white man, whatever the case may be, we know where people stand now. We just need people to come with open hearts, like minds, be comfortable saying things that are uncomfortable. And if people correct you, not to get offended. And for people that may be offended, not to, oh my God, they're racist. No, they're not racist. They just don't know. Right? So yeah, I appreciate that.
I think there's a lot of things. I'm not gonna try and top you on that, but there's definitely a lot of things that I think hearing that can help, and that's all it is. It's just one conversation, and maybe somebody hit end, and that's cool. Because when I do these things, like there's no topics, there's no, we talked a little bit about training, we talked about things that probably relate to a lot of what I did, we talked about your profession, but I didn't know that we were going to finish with that. But when you said that thing about the bank, you gave me the safety because it was something I considered. But I also, it still needs to be a coherent conversation. It needs to be a cogent conversation, and it was. And I think a lot of the things that you said are all actionable. They're all easy they're simple. And I understand that simple isn't always easy. And that's where I hope people choose to contact you if they need your financial advice, or if there's something other that someone like you can safely help them with, or maybe somebody else. And that's
and again, don't want to go without saying this, man. I hope that you go to bed tonight feeling fulfilled, knowing that you poured into an area of my life that literally cost me my own, right? And I poured everything I ever had into achieving my dream, and it's never going to come true. But the fact that you still welcome me with open arms and you've poured so much into me, I am incredibly honored and grateful to call you a friend. I'm grateful that you entered my life. But please, at some point, take your flowers, man, and realize tonight that I'm incredibly grateful for you, to all of you done for me. But what you've done for me, I've been able to pour into other young men. I've been able to pour into kids. I've been able to pour into my family. And that means the world to me. So please take your flowers and rest well tonight, knowing that you left a legacy in the world, man. You mean a lot to me. I appreciate you.
Well done. All right, man. Well done. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
No doubt. Later.
All right.